asked me to give you guys a market update, and so I'm going to just take a few minutes and go a little bit along that line. So bear with me. If I bore you, I apologize. Okay, so what? You guys tell me, what kind of market do we have right now? Are we in an up market or a down market?
Neutral.
Yeah, flatline. Yeah.
Okay, flat line I got over here, and you said it's changing. That's a vague answer. Transitional market. Our prices. When I asked that, she went to flat market. What did you mean by flat market? The prices are flattening out?
We're not on our up climb and we're not on our down climb. We're just kind of seeing those prices kind of come down a little bit and stabilizing across the board.
Okay, so the market, which matters more to you as an agent? Whether prices are going up or whether prices are going down?
Oh, down. I think matters more.
No, neither one. What actually matters more to you as an agent is the volume of homes being sold, not the price of the homes. I'm going to run you through a little exercise. If you want to jot notes, you can, but you don't need to. It's just simple math. $400,000 home at 2.5% is $10,000. If you sell 10 of them in a year, you add $100,000 a year. Not too bad. Not great, but not too bad. So if you increase the price of that home by 4.5%, and you do that, then you make $10,000, and you make $4,500 on it, right? So you make a little extra because you increased it 4.5%, right? If you decrease it by 5%, so you decrease it by more than you increased it by, and you sell one extra home, you make the same amount of money. So that's a 9.5% swing in the price, and you still make the same amount of money because you sold one extra home. Does that make sense? So my point is, when the public asks you how the market's doing, they're usually talking about sales price. When you as a real estate agent are trying to figure out how your year is going to be and what your checks are going to be, you should be talking about how many homes did you sell. Does that make sense? All right. Number of homes sold. How many homes sell in the Sacramento area? Well, it's kind of good to know that for the past 9 years, it's been around 30,000 homes a year. Yeah, so it'll vary somewhere between 25 and 30,000 pieces of transactions that are done a year.
How many years in a row was that?
Around 9 years.
9 years now?
So you can see that on this chart.
Was it from Ryan Lundcrest? Or else?
I don't know why it's not. See, I had it, but can you fix that? There you go. Okay. So you see this chart? This is not Ryan Lundquist. This is Trends Graphics, right? This is every MLS. This is in your MLS. I'm not doing anything today that didn't come out of the MLS. So this is right in the MLS. You go in and look at Trend Graphics. This is for the region. So what do you notice on this? One of the main things you notice that I'm trying to point out to you, this is your line of pending sales. You can kind of use that of a rust. It's just drawn out in a better way than seeing the sold sales. Sold sales are going to follow pending sales a little bit after that, right? So you can understand that's pretty flat, really. I mean, it goes up and down based on the season, but there's not a lot of variance. That's a 9-year window. That's why I'm saying is about the same number of homes sell all the dang time. Over that 9-year period, what is the prices of the homes done? I'm like crazy, right? But that's not really reflected here. It didn't really move the needle. What moved the needle was how many people moved into Sacramento, how many people had babies, how many people died. That's what moves the needle, so that needle stays pretty consistent all across the time period. Does that make sense? Would you agree with that? Because you're seeing it from that level too. So I'll pass that around. If you want to see that a little closer, you can. But remember, it's in Trends Graphic. Does everybody know what I'm saying when I say trends?
No.
Okay, so when you go into MLS, there's a button on the top bar that goes across the top. It says Trends.
Okay.
If you hit that, it's got all the data you could ever possibly want. Okay, and it's free. Actually, it's not free. You already paid.
Can I add to that? Wait, can I add to that just real quick?
Yeah.
If you're going on a listing appointment, that's a great tool to at least look at before you go, because chances are the seller's going to start asking you questions specific to that city, and you can narrow it down to city, county, whatever. You're going to sound much more intelligent and much more advanced than any other realtor that goes there if you simply just look at it and know your numbers, and it takes like a couple minutes.
You can actually, they have one called Market Update, which is kind of funny because that's what I'm doing, that combines about 7 different charts into one printout. You can hit a button, print it, and you've got your market update for Placer County, or your market update. I would discourage you from going too small on that though, because data becomes irrelevant if it's not a big enough data pool. So if you try to go down to the zip code, you might have a problem, okay? I like county level data. I don't like anything less than that.
And that would be really big for high Cs. So anyone that's analytic engineers, anything like that, if you ever have a listing appointment, bring a lot of data.
And you might have met the high I because they need a lot of people, and the high C stayed home. So you don't know the high C's there, so it's good to have that with you.
Yep.
Everybody catch that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's awesome. Sign up for like 2.5 hours.
All right, so we're gonna jump back into it. Okay, so over the time period, this is the next chart. Over the time period, this is $160 a square foot. This is $247 a square foot. That's what we've done lately, okay? That's a big increase, guys.
Yeah.
That's a big
When does it
increase.
start?
That's a 6-year increase. You know, I apologize, that's a, 6 years. So over the last 6 years, how's the market? Well, we're up about 54% over the last 6 years. Pretty dang good statement, right? That's 9% a year, okay? So that sounds really good. It's good for cocktail parties and all. Well, what's the market going to do? Well, there's some detail in there. In actuality, the market is up 50% over the previous 5 years. The last year, it only went up 3%. So 2018 to 2019 only went up 3%. All that growth came from the 10% a year it went up from years 1 through 5. Year 6, it only went up 3%. Does that make sense? So what's that telling you? What you're seeing is exactly what Cindy said earlier, a flattening out. So if you go back and look at a view long enough, and that trends will let you go back 15 years, you'll see that not only does it flatten out, what happens after flattening out is curving over the hillside. So we don't know how long the flattening out is going on, but that's your conversation. My conversation to my people is, I work with about 60% of my people are investors. And my conversation with them is, if you don't love it, time to get rid of it. All right? I mean, if it's not something you absolutely love, you'd give it to your kids. You'd let them stay there if they had nowhere else to stay. If that's not the kind of property this is, it's time to sell it.
Or if they're owner occupied, be in the home you want to rent out the market.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. All right, so blah, 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 blah. Okay, market update. So we're coming into a different season, and we don't really, I'm going to put you this in context. Q2 is April through June, right? You have Q1, January, February, March. Q2, April through June. Q3 is what we're going through now. In 2018, this is not consistent every year, but it follows this pattern. And it's what you saw when you saw that paper go around. The red lines go up and down. The reason red lines go up and down is because of this, right? It bounces. It's seasonality. So in Q2 of 2018, there's about 3,000 homes that were pending. In Q3, sold. In Q3, only 2,000. You had about a 30% drop between those quarters, okay? You guys need to be ready for that. You're going to think that this is, especially if you haven't been in real estate a long time, and even the ones that have been in real estate a long time, we forget, right? For one thing, we do our budgets based on Q1. We think, wow, my budget's great, it's up here. But it's not. Q3 is where your budget have to be based on, is on the 2,000 transactions, right? You are going to lose volume in the market during this season. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to lose volume, but it probably does mean you have to work harder, okay? So you better be prepared to ramp it up because it's not going to come as natural. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean that real estate's never going to do any good again. It just means you're going into this season. And when you get in and look at our seasonality, that's kind of the path it follows. You're going to see a 30% drop.
What's your busiest month? Do you know? Each year? You kind of have a consistent.
I'd like to tell you the summertime, but my wife tells me I'm always busy in the winter. I don't know why that is, if it has something to do with investors like to buy in November and December when people aren't out shopping. That might be the reason that I'm that way. But every time I start to get this mentality going, okay, I've got to slow down, it's going to come slowing down, I think, okay, am I the only guy working?
Yeah. Mine are December and April every year.
Yeah, so I would say that.
It's December, I'm going to enjoy family, and I'm like, why am I showing property on the day before Christmas?
Right. The people what you'll find is the customers that will go out with you in December, they want to buy.
They're serious.
They're like really serious. They're going to buy. So December can be, I would agree with you, December can be very busy. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially investors don't call them all right now.
Yeah,
Time
that's
to
true.
buy.
All right, so now we'll get into the, okay, Q2 for 2019, we're down about 1% over 2018. So we're not really seeing that big of a noticeable drop. So your business should be doing about what it did last year. You shouldn't really see a volume drop. So if you're having a volume drop, you got an issue. And I don't know if you guys know my story. Right, it's your issue, it's not the market.
You stop.
So, but seriously, there's some truth in that, right? So, I don't know if you know my numbers, right? I consistently sell 30 to 40 homes a year, maybe 30 to 36. This year I'm going for 50. We'll see what happens. 2018, I sold 8. 8. Ruh-roh. I didn't get a new job. I didn't go on vacation the whole year. I just had my head up my, that's the only explanation I have for it.
You were missing me.
Yeah, I was missing Jennifer, yeah. So I was in a different location all by myself. I was in a little bitty office where I went in and I guess I was depressed. People tell me I was depressed. I wouldn't know depression if it walked up and smacked me in the face, but I think I must have had it. How else do you explain, 30, 8, 30, 40? How do you explain that, right? So I don't know what that was, but I'm telling you, if you've got a problem with your numbers, it's probably up here, not in the bottom. Does that make sense?
That's good.
So figure out what's going on up here, and you might fix some of that. Sacramento County, here's two numbers that I found interesting. Sacramento County, $242 a square foot is the average. We obviously know that averages have to be taken with a grain of salt, but they're good to look at. 1,660 homes closed in August. If you compare that over to Placer County, 572 homes closed. Okay, so we're used to seeing that. You should have Sacramento County is going to be about Placer County is going to be 1/3 of what Sacramento County is as far as volume is, number of deals done, and that's pretty consistent. Always been that since I've been in this area. Days on market in Sacramento County is 29 days on market. Go ahead.
Is that because just like the number of homes?
Yeah, it's a sheer population thing.
So is there a correlation between the percentage of the homes sold in the population? Are they the same? Or is it just that Sacramento County has just a greater turnover?
If you're I think what you're asking, yeah, I hear what you're asking. What you're asking is, does Sacramento County have 2/3 more people in it compared to Placer County?
Yes, but what I'm asking is...
Right, because if there is a difference, it would indicate turnover.
Right,
Right.
that's what I want to
I haven't studied that number. I think you'd probably figure it out in about 15 minutes. But I think my gut would tell me that it's a population issue, not a turnover issue.
Okay.
I don't think there's dramatically that much difference. If I was going to say Sacramento turns over a little bit more, but I don't think it's something you're going to see on a data point. Because remember, Sacramento County also includes some really nice areas.
Right.
Now, if you did a little different and you said turnover between prices under 350 versus prices over 350 in whatever section of the county they were in, then I'd probably look for that data to change. Does that make sense? But if you're just doing by county, Sacramento's got some really nice stuff in it. We don't see it that much because we're up here and we look down on Sacramento, but some of those places, I just saw a place down in Carmichael that was freaking drop dead gorgeous. It's a mansion on 3.5 acres in the middle of Carmichael. It looks like a hidden, it's like trees all around it. It's like you wouldn't think a city was anywhere around you.
Yeah.
So.
But also with the higher volume, you gotta remember that in Sacramento County, the price of a property compared to Placer County, you're gonna have a lot more of the $250,000 entry level, North Highlands, Sacramento.
So that is going to what this data said. Remember I told you I was surprised? Mm-hmm. I'm actually surprised. The price per square foot in Sacramento County is $242. The price per square foot in Placer County is $246. Who would have freaking thought they'd be that close together? Mm-hmm. Right? Normally there's a big gap between the two, right? So why is that? Well, for one, Placer County dropped in a big way. From 256 to 240, from 252 to 246. That's a 2.5% drop in 1 month in price per square foot. That's a big hitter. That's telling me if I was to, that's telling me that if I saw that next month, I would think the recession is upon us. right? That's a 2.5% drop in 1 month in price per square foot for a county that's for over 500 houses.
What's a month of
That's a
inventory?
big deal. Month of inventory in Sac County is 1.5, and in Placer County is 2.2. So and the difference is you're seeing a price point difference. In Placer County, your average sold is 406,000, which is, again, that's a big number. I mean, in Sacramento County, 406,000.
That's the average?
Yeah.
Dang.
Sac County, 406. Placer, 544.
What was the average?
That's not that big of a difference. I would have thought that difference would have been greater.
What's the
Right?
average days on market in Placer County?
Placer's 544.
Thank you.
So a sign of a recession is less inventory selling, right? Like, I mean, less homes selling each month. So have we looked at that? Like what the data is of this time last year, how many homes sold?
Yeah, and that was only a I mentioned that one earlier, about 1.86%.
Difference in
Not
sales?
difference.
Really?
Not a big difference. Not negligible. Negligible difference. So what I'm looking at is the turnover in pricing here. You know, that one is there in Placer. I mean, if I only had 1 month to look at, you can't really look at just 1 month. But hey, in Placer County, it's here. If that happens again next month, then you're definitely seeing that starting to.
What was the average days on market in Placer County? You kind of-
Placer County is 36 days on market, and Sacramento County is 29.
Yeah.
Not a big difference. Another noticeable, I think, between asking versus sold, they're both about 25% off. The people are asking 25% more than what they're getting. Okay, and that's usually caused, if you get into the data, a lot of times that's caused by the guys who have things really overpriced and aren't selling versus the ones that are selling are at more normal prices. So you'll see that gap be there. But what I'm surprised by is that it's roughly the same in Sacramento County and Placer County. So what I'm seeing in the data I pulled today, if I'm going to interpret it, right? Remember, everybody's got access to the same data. The value you bring to your clients is how you interpret the data. What I'm saying is there's been a real blend between Sacramento and Placer. We're not seeing a huge amount of difference in those numbers. And some of that could be that there's just no inventory at the low end. And so because of that, the pricing, remember these are averages. So the average homes that are selling are coming up. And so that's why you're seeing this meld between the two data. It's not as extreme as it used to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? So that's a good point to tell your sellers when they're in Placer County and they think they're all that in a bag of chips. Right? You're kind of the same in Sac. Oh yeah, look, your price per square foot is the same as what it is in South Sac. Thanks. Right? And then on the other side of that, your Sacramento people that want to get more for their house, hey, I got you what this was selling for in Granite Bay. Okay? So does that help, guys?
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got.
That is good.